MCM London Comic Con. I'm here on behalf of CBC again. Unfortunately, the other Tom Gallico can't be here. You may know me on the page as the other Tom, I'm in Sonic, and yeah, got my press pass and everything like that. So we're here today. Going to be this day one. We're also going to be here for Sunday. So the comic convention is actually right next to us, and I'm standing right behind a Monsters the movie thing. Anyway, let's go in and have a look. Right.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Introduce yourself and tell us about your project.
Hey, I'm Adam James, producer and creator, writer, I guess, of Far From Faith. It's our new 3-part mini-series. Professionally published comic book, same standards as like Marvel and DC. And because of that, comic shops are really excited to have it on their shelves next to all those other big titles, you know, not hidden away in a sort of indie little cupboard somewhere. So Lynn used to work at Sega. She's working on the comic with me. She is doing amazing artwork like this and turning it into
shiny things.
beautiful pages. Like I brought this with us just to show like the evolution. So pencils turn into inks, turn into gorgeous panels like this. And
we're trying to make it all cover quality as well, because a lot of times you can open a comic book and it's got really nice artwork on the cover, and then inside it's either a different artist or the art's a bit sort of rushed.
Yeah, you can get like different artists do the colour.
Yeah. I think that's a bit of a cheat, you know. So what we've done is we've really tried to put as much time as possible into each page. So each panel sort of like a little mini painting.
Absolutely. Like if you have a look at these pencils here. I should be better at this. Like I should have got my sales pitch down by day 2, huh? But like that panel turns into that. You know, it's absolutely gorgeous. Every panel is cover quality, not just every page. So yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. But so we whacked it on Kickstarter. This is the only way we're going to get it professionally published, like how we want, and how it's going to sit on the shelves with the rest of them. We got to, where are we now, Lynn? 27 days remaining.
Yeah.
I think we've got 100 now. My phone keeps buzzing with good news as I'm sat here. We've definitely got over £3,000 by now towards our goal, and it's been going fantastically well. 35% funded already. So and we've still got 27 days remaining.
Cool. Have you done any work on any other work before? Or this is your first big project?
This is my first writing comic book. I worked at Nickelodeon for 13 years, so I've got a lot of experience in the sort of preschool, and then you know, working with things like SpongeBob and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that on those brands. But for me, I wanted to create something that's for us grown-ups as well, and that's what we've been working on. So.
When how much longer the Kickstarter have got until you need to go, or how much you got to reach the target?
Like everything is correlated in there basically. I mean, I've already got that.
Yes, it's just under £8,000. That basically is a project of passion. So it's basically where that £8,000 is Lynn's, I guess.
My commission
rent and food for the next 3 months to draw this thing, and then the publishing costs as well of actually printing it to the highest standards, and hopefully it goes over. We think it will get funded. You know, we're 35% already, so hopefully with 27 days left to go, we should be in a good place.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for you guys, and I hope this project does get picked up and it does get made.
Take care.
Okay, no problem.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. He's rolling.
Yeah.
He's rolling.
You gave me this
You better be ready.
Yeah, I am ready. I'm ready. Anyway,
Are you ready, though?
I'm ready. Anyway, this is Anthony. We met him last time.
He's not ready.
Yes, I am.
He's not ready.
But with Anthony.
Are you sure I'm Anthony?
Killing.
Did you do your research?
Yes, I did.
All right, okay. All right, I'm Anthony.
Basically, this is Anthony, and if you may remember, we met him last time here for the Killing of Shakespeare. So, how has it been going?
It's been going fantastically well. I mean, since we met back in May, I mean, we've actually just released volume number 3, The Tide of Blood. So it's our sequel miniseries. So in this one, the characters that survived the first 2 books, this time they embark, you know, because it's Shakespeare and, you know, people die. This time they embark on a dangerous journey to Prospero's Island from the Tempest. So we have cannibals and creatures and magic and madness, and instead of Romeo and Juliet, now it's Romeo versus Juliet.
Okay. And
In addition to that, we've also just announced about a month ago, we announced a board game deal.
Okay.
So it's going to be a Kill Shakespeare board game that will be coming out.
How is that going to work then? What type of board game is it going to be?
We're at the very early stage right now. We just hired some developers, some game developers out of Belgium. And they actually, it's going to be very similar to there's a game called Yedo, which was just released earlier this year. It's like a Shogun type game. So it's going to be very much like Risk or Dominion, that sort of thing. It's not going to be a card-based game or anything like that. It'll be more like an actual full-out board game. I'm really excited because I've never created a board game before, so it'll be fun to learn about what the process is involved in creating it.
Okay, and also I noticed that you have gotten some merchandising now with T-shirts and stuff like that.
People are asking for it.
How did this came about? Like you said, people were asking for it.
Yeah, well, we call it our Shakespeare. I know. Insert drum roll or eye roll here. Yeah. So yeah, no, Shakespeare. I mean, people were asking for people were asking for it. I mean, this one here is kind of really cool. So our Super Shakespeare Fighter. So we just launched this 2 weeks ago at the New York Comic Con, sold out immediately. And then our biggest seller still is the Justice League of Shakespeare shirt. And this is how we got our publishing deal. Because what happened was when we first sat down with IDW, our publisher, as soon as we used the term, in our pitch, the Justice League of Shakespeare, the two guys who run the company, Chris and Greg, they start to laugh. And then they turn to look at each other, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it is. It really is. It's kind of cool." So we like to joke that we got our publishing deal on the strength of the 4 words.
Okay, cool. And also, you mentioned that there's a theatre version going at the moment. That's still going? Or is that
We've got, it's played in about a dozen cities worldwide. So in the spring it played for 3 weeks in Chicago with Straw Dog Theatre. It played for a week in Dubai, so that's our international debut. And then it's going to play another 2 times this fall in North America. And then we'd love to bring it back, we'd love to bring it to England, so potentially at MCM next year.
Okay.
We can do a show right here in one of the theatre spaces.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Is there anything else coming up at all?
No, I mean we're in development on a prototype for an enhanced graphic novel and a mobile game. So enhanced graphic novel, you can read Kill Shakespeare on the tablet, and there'll be a bunch of underlined content. So annotations, videos, that sort of stuff.
So it's really picked up steam last time I saw you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
right now we're Connor and I are still writing the feature film script. So we have a lot of people that express interest in doing film or TV. If it's TV, it'll be Game of Thrones or The Tudors. Feature film would be a high budget Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean style. So we'll probably, now we were able to make a lot of time this summer to write it. So we'll have a draft done and ready to show, and probably partner up with someone by early next year.
Okay. Where can we go to buy Kill Shakespeare?
Oh, you can to check out any of our volumes of Kill Shakespeare or anything related to Kill Shakespeare. You can go to www.killshakespeare.com. We're also on Twitter at Kill Shakespeare, and on Facebook as well.
Well, thank you for your time again.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to see that you were actually ready for this interview.
Yes,
good job.
Yeah, definitely.
He was ready. It's about time.
How you doing, mate? All right?
So, what have you been up to recently, in acting wise?
Well, I've been doing a lot of theatre at the moment. On stage really, theatre. Yeah.
Okay, what you been in exactly, theatre wise?
Okay, well I've been in a couple of productions of Glenn Ross. I did The Winslow Boy, As You Like It, and I've just finished doing a play called Aristocrats.
Okay, cool. Have you got any upcoming projects that you like to promote at the moment you're going to be in?
I'm doing a big tour of Undermilk Wood next year, celebrating the centenary of Dylan Thomas's life.
Okay. How did you get into the role in Torchwood in the first place? How did it come about?
Well, just through the usual channels of auditions, really. Went in and auditioned for it, and then a few weeks later I was offered the part, really.
Okay, good. Do you know when Torchwood is going to be coming back on TV by any chance?
I'm afraid I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. And also, are you going to be watching the Doctor Who 50-year anniversary coming up?
I will be, yes, I'll be watching it.
Okay, that's been. Thank you for your time, sir.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
And have a good day.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Alex Massiera. I'm the artist and creator of my comic book, The Zombies Ate My Children.
So what is Zombie Ate My Children all about?
The Zombies Ate My Children is basically about a group of my friends raising the dead in London by accident and them trying to figure out a way of undoing it. The twist is that they can't remember how they've done it, which is a big part of the story. And there's a bigger twist where it's not just zombies that start to appear, and another thing is they seem to be more after the group of friends than anybody else. And so it kind of gets revealed along the way why that is and what's going on.
Okay. Where would we be able to go to buy your comic?
Well, I'm always at every MCM Expo in London. I sell them at various comic book shops around London. I think we're sold out Gosh at the moment, but you can go to Orbital and Gosh. I've got an online store which I'll be activating soon, so I've just made a new website.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it at the moment.
Is this your first big comic line you've done so far?
Yeah. This is the first ever comic I've actually ever published. After I graduated at uni, I was doing animation. Didn't really know if I wanted to go into the industry, so I ended up doing comics instead.
Okay, fair.
But I now actually work in the industry and do this part-time.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your time.
No, you're welcome, man.
And check out Zombie Ate My Children.
Yeah, planetruskin.com, check it out. You can get all the info there and download the first issue for free.
Awesome, thank you.
That we did, and Thomas Ott, who I've always been a big fan of, Thomas Ott, who I've always been a big fan of. I got in touch with him, and I actually was in Paris, and we went out to dinner, and I pitched him this idea, and Thomas agreed to do the graphic novel. And then we're also working on a werewolf book with another native son, Sean O'Connor, who's from London. And we've just kind of kept at it, doing our boutique comic book stuff, and having a lot of fun. Very low output, but high quality.
Yeah, it's more of a boutique kind of like, we're not in it to put out like a line of comic books. We're in it to develop and nurture our own kind of projects, and we're, it's interesting that Tom was not interested in doing a superhero when they offered him the Punisher, because he's a lifelong comic collector. More while I think your proclivity was more for the undergrounds and the old EC comic books and things of that nature. So I guess on that level, I can see why superheroes weren't something that was jumping out at you.
Yeah, I just personally never really got into it.
Couldn't see yourself walking around in a spandex costume.
It's too bad. I could have been a lot richer.
He's done a post for Nick Fury for me. He's been El Borak, Robert E. Howard's El Borak. He's Cal McDonald, and because I shoot a lot of photos of him here and there, or on movie projects, I end up using that stuff in my own work. Mm-hmm. And so he's kind of my De Niro if I was Scorsese. I think he trusts my sensibilities too. With Raw Studios, I do all the ad design, all the art direction and stuff like that, and he does as well.
He lays out the books and does all the art direction inside all the books.
Well, he does a lot of it too. I mean, he's very hands-on with the artists. He's an artist too, and he's a creator, and part of that creation is working on all those levels in the development of something.
I'm an artist who can't draw.
He designed our Bad Planet logo.
Guys, tell us a bit more about Dark Country if people haven't seen it yet, and what is it about the comic book world that's so unique?
I don't know. I mean, I think graphic novels are just so imaginative, and I love the fact that they're a indigenously American art form. That they're they're sort of relatively new. The paper canvas is it's as imaginative as you want to get. I mean, any kind of story you can tell, you can do through comics. You can, the Bad Planet story that we did, if you did that as a movie, it would be a $400 million film, you know. And there are novels with pictures. They can be poetry. They can be sublime. They can tell small, intimate stories. You know, or they can be you know, they can encompass multiple universes. It's a really amazing canvas, and you see with shows like this, you see the breadth and the depth of just how varied that imaginative world is, and there's an audience for whatever you can create in that world. It's very specific, you know. It's there's so many different styles of art, you know, from Frank Miller to Wally Wood to Arendo to, I mean, it's just to Bradstreet. There's just so much. There's so much that you can do with that world visually. That it's always just held a fascination for me in terms of story, and the marriage of art and story is something that is also so, you know, it creates its own mystique in a way. The artist that you choose to tell the story is sort of, that paints the palette of the kind of world that you're going to enter. You can tell so much without words, you know, and then of course you can have fantastic writing. You know, that's there's comic books out there that are as well written as any novel, with all the sublime and poetry, and so it's really captivating, you know, and it's always captivated my imagination, and I try to stay open to all different styles, you know, kind of get into all different kinds of, like Tim said, I'm a big fan of the underground comics that started in the '60s, and then I also like really cartoony stuff, and more of the, Tim and I lean toward a sort of the more realistic, illustrative style of book.
The thing too with comics is, as a creator, there is, you know, with a film project, you have to, you have to raise money. There's a budget. There are all these limitations. There's all these spokes in the wheel. All these, you know, facets you have to work with to be able to make that thing happen. And along the way, your vision oftentimes is watered down and homogenized and focus grouped and, you know, suited, as I like to call it. And in comics, your only limitation is your time and your imagination. And it's like Tom said, you can do a small, intimate story that if you were, you know, like, and very often if I do sequential, I stage it as a play and I photograph it, and then I work from those photos to create the stylized artwork. And that can be a bit of a production, but comics can be the small, intimate thing up to something that could be a $400 million film, you know, a Pacific Rim, you know, and that's the magic of it, you know. You don't need anyone but yourself, really, and then figure out a way to publish it. And today, I mean, you just kickstart that thing, right? Yeah. As long as you can get enough people interested in it, you can get it out there. Or you could go to someone like Image, who if they think your book is worth it, will publish that book for you. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Well, you're also working with a lot of different artists, even if you're making a book, and in that way, it's a great practice for movies, because you're still working with a colorist and a letterer and the penciler and the inker and the printer, and all those things have corollaries to film. And if you're organizing all of that, you're working with all these different people to bring a specific vision to life. And I think it's great practice for making movies. You know,
yeah, there's no great stretch there. You know, you're doing the same thing in a different venue.
So for me, it's great training as a director. You know, Tim and I are working on a couple of movies too. I wrote a Western last year. Going to hopefully shoot it in the spring.
You mentioned you're working on various movies at the moment. Can you give us a little bit of a tease about what kind of thing they are, what kind of genre, what kind of subjects you might be involved?
Well, we got the Western. That's
the farthest along.
it's the furthest along. We've got a great cast, and
Nick Nolte.
we've got Nick, and we've got some other terrific actors come on board for that. And we're working on our other project is sort of a hard-boiled kind of in the vein of the old Donald Westlake novels. So one of those hard-boiled style stories. Phil Joannou, who directed Dirty Laundry, and I are working on a project, a miniseries. So we're putting that together. Our book, The Lichen, which is sort of like the Magnificent Seven, set in the 1700s, hunting werewolves.
Period werewolf.
Period werewolf story that Mike Carey, who's also from England, wrote for us. That's our first project that we deliberately started out to make a comic book and then turn that into a film. So we're really proud of that. We have Sean O'Connor doing the art, also from England. We're working with a lot of Brits.
A lot of talent over here.
A lot of talent.
Can we just make this the last question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the Western with Nick Nolte. What kind of period are we talking? You left a bit out.
The Western, it takes place in the 1870s, and it's a bit of a hero's journey. It's a bit of a treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's very much a classic Western.
Gothic.
More in the yeah. There's definitely a sort of almost a Gothic element.
Homerian.
Yeah, it's a hero's journey, kind of a Homerian kind of a tale.
There's a lot of little elements in it that make it it's a mythical kind of experience, a road picture kind of, if you will, or a saddle picture.
There's
with
treasure,
some great characters.
Indians, and buried treasure.
Do you have a title for that?
It's called A Magnificent Death from a Shattered Hand. And that was actually a submission that a young writer submitted a script with that title to us. And we try to read, we get a lot of submissions every week, and we try to read as much as we can, but that title sort of stood out, and the story was really, really cool. So we optioned the screenplay from a guy named Jose Prentice, who wrote the original draft, and I worked on it for about a year and whipped it into shape. And it turned out great. It's very much a throwback Western in the vein of Howard Hawks and John Ford. I know everybody sort of wants to do the spaghetti Western type thing, and there's elements of that in this Western for sure. But I think for a Western to be successful, you have to go back to the roots of what made Westerns so interesting in the first place. And I think a lot of the modern Westerns try to modernize the Western tale, and they have not been successful. But if you stick to the basics, like Unforgiven, I guess that's really the most recent Western that I can think of that really did well. The two films that I think you could compare this Western to would be There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men.
I can't wait to see it.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
I have to go, Mom. I have to go, Mom. I'm doing an interview now with Emily. Yeah, the cameras are on right now.
Hi.
Emily says hi. No, not right now. We're going to do an interview. I'll let you talk to her later. Okay. Okay, love you too.
Okay.
I really, yes. Okay, yes, hi, Dad. Love you too. Okay. Yep. I will. I'll call you right back.
He has a ritual of talking to his parents before
Sorry.
every big
Okay.
interview.
They gave me some good, yeah, some good dirt on me that I didn't even remember.
Still.
Yeah.
So we're on season 4 at the moment, but I want to know what's the news for season 5?
I don't have any news.
Tell them, Emily. Emily makes these decisions. She's the real boss.
I'm the woman behind the curtain.
The news is, we are, I think, as hopeful as ever. Thankfully, our numbers have been strong, and so I don't, from behind my desk, where I never actually sit,
desk?
I don't see any reason why we wouldn't continue. But as you know, these things, change for no particular reason at any moment. So that's why we've been really pushing to try and get people to watch live these days and keep the ratings up and pound sci-fi or
Well, we're in a really cool
Showcase or whoever to keep having on the air.
we're in a really cool age, I think, of television with just the whole worldwide interweb, as you would call it, because fans really make a difference. Like, in the past, fans are fantastic and they're great, but this is the first, I think, kind of generation of TV watchers where, their presence as a fan base really can make an impact on a network. We've seen that from, shows being brought back because they've really harassed networks to now, the internet presence of a fan base really speaks volumes. So we're excited to be here at Comic-Con. There's tons of fans, but we also love to get the message out there that, if our fans are vocal and they tell the networks they want us to come back and they spread the word and, they check in on Get Glue and they're watching the series or talk about it with each other or, trend the topic on Twitter or any of those things, that makes a difference. I mean, we get emails regularly saying, oh, we trended at this. It really does make a difference. So, our fans make a difference on whether or not we come back. So in that way, if they think, oh, it's fine, it's coming back, and they maybe not be as vocal, sometimes that can have an effect. So we say, even though we're, pretty sure we're coming back and we hope we're coming back, make sure that happens. We love for the word to get out that they want us back.
Absolutely.
Is there any ritual when a new cast member joins that you have to do a prank or haze a certain new cast member? What's the tricks that have to be done?
Our ritual consists of coming into the trailer every single morning and just going at it. What does that mean?
Would you like to rephrase it?
Or elaborate.
Verbally going at it. Just downloading. The ritual
Yes.
is, a new cast member comes in, and whatever our energy is as a cast in the morning, we attack that person with that energy, whether they like it or not.
They get
That's what I
dumped
mean
on.
by going at it. Like, they come into the trailer, and we either, if we're in like the best, most hyper mood ever, they're gonna get that full force. The boys will just start hugging on them repeatedly.
Yeah, we're pretty immediately welcoming. Maybe overwhelmingly so.
Yeah, like I think people are,
A
overwhelmed.
Yeah, wonder a little what they've gotten themselves
Because
into.
it's-
Thankfully, they grow to enjoy us.
But I've said this before in interviews, but I'll say it again. We film on the edge of nowhere, it feels like.
Yeah.
Not that Nova Scotia's nowhere. And so whenever anyone comes in from the outside, we're like, hello!
Right.
Tell us of the food you have eaten in the faraway lands. What is it like out there?
Right. What news you bring.
What news you bring from the Shire?
So you really are like a little small town yourselves.
Yes.
Absolutely, and then they have such, they're usually coming from somewhere relatively far away, so there is the whole culture shock of being in this little world that we shoot in. So
I have a story about that.
go ahead.
No,
Emily.
go ahead.
And there, yep. Go ahead, Emily.
Okay.
Emily has a story about
another
that.
sci-fi person, Colin Ferguson from Eureka. Okay,
Right.
I've done many of event with Colin, and I tell him all the time, yes, we film in a really small town, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and he kind of would be like,
Right, good line.
He came to join us this season, obviously, and the first email an email which turned into a phone call, on the phone, he literally said to me, I don't know where, like literally I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Like, am I really, could we be 5 minutes? I don't know where I am. And I just started laughing at him because he's given me such a hard time for so long about that, like, yeah, it's hard filming on location, it's hard. But literally he was
We only have one restaurant.
Yeah, he woke up and he was like, you guys only have one. We're like, yes, we know, Colin, we're aware. Welcome to Haven.
Yeah.
It's really fun. That's kind of an initiation in and of itself.
Emily, how much fun have you had playing Lexi and Audrey, or should I say Laudry?
Laudry.
And Lucas, how has it felt having a new side? William come into that relationship between Audrey and Nathan?
I don't want to talk about it. But you can answer.
No, I've been talking too much. You
Can
answer,
I answer
your question first. We could, let's trade answers.
No, how does it feel to have a new, I mean, it's great for Nathan to have someone to, I guess I can't say exactly what the nature of our relationship is yet, but to have other characters involved in his tiny little world.
I thought you were going to say brain.
Tiny little brain. And in the same way, I guess for me, just as the person, Lucas, that's not the character, it's really nice to have Colin around. He's a great guy and pleasure to have on set. A total ass and a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I would say it's been a lot of fun playing Laudry, Lexi, and, well, not so much playing Laudry. Laudry kind of drives me nuts, and that is to say when the two are, like, going this way. Like, it's kind of crazy because I think I've fought pretty hard throughout the season to really clearly say, who is this right now? Who is this right now? Are we going to make it clear to the fans? Are we... So for the first 4 episodes, it was really fun playing Lexi. I mean, especially episode 5, which I think just aired here. It was when Lexi comes into Haven, and it was directed by a great new director we had this year, Rick Boda. And we just had a lot of fun because he would pull me aside and he'd say, like, let's do something fun with Lexi, and that, how can she get on Nathan's nerves more and more and more. And so that was fun for me to play because
like, I have an idea.
Trying to get into his personal space because, here he's dealing with the fact that Audrey's around but she's not around. And so the comedic side of Lexi was really fun to play. Just, I would try things, and instead of people saying like, oh no, take it down a notch, they'd be like, great, you can just be bigger and more out there. But it is a little tricky finding my way back to Audrey and feeling like she's clear because I feel like, she has Lexi so much on top of her now in so many ways. So that was a little tricky. But I tried to add so many layers to Lexi that as Audrey begins to be reintroduced to Haven, some of those things come off, like her nose rings or her hair or the different types of her clothes that you sort of see her kind of blend back into.
Her hair falls off.
Yeah, it comes out
in the
stress.
Next episode.
Yeah, it's a trouble, a balding trouble.
I heard you fought for that nose ring as well.
I did, and I won.
Well, tell him about how the story when.
Oh, right. Well,
was
that's
that not
exciting.
allowed to be told?
I think I've told it anyway.
Oh yeah.
So
Forget it.
No, I haven't. I think I've said it. I can't remember who I said it to, but it was really funny because coming back. First of all, I had just had a baby like 6 weeks prior, so it was all sort of. I think everybody was kind of concerned is a nice word to say. We had no clue what she's going to look like after she had this baby, and so what are we going to do character-wise? And so it was really fun to play Lexi and just have a completely different look altogether. And starting up the season, they were developing the look for Lexi. We, tried on a bunch of wardrobe and came up with some photos and, went through hair and makeup of what we thought looked really, really good. And sent that off, and everybody was like, awesome! Looks fantastic. Now we just want to see this on Emily. And everybody was like, it is Emily. And they were, wait a second, no way, which was such a compliment to the transformation that had happened. also was a little bit disconcerting. Like, you don't know who I am, this is me. But it was really, really cool to actually have, you know, created an entirely new look and to be so disguised, you know. As an actor, that's one of my favorite things, is to try to not trick people, but to try to make them, you know, pull them into a story. So the fact that we had done that with our own people was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the one?
That was the one I had.
That's so good.
Yeah, you did good.
I did fight for the nose ring, though. There was a little character I played when I got my Taft-Hartley, which is the first little step you get when you become SAG, and she was a little low-rent sort of bartender rat, and she had, you know, really short blonde hair and a nose ring, and I really liked her, and I didn't ever feel like I got to play her. So when they sort of pitched this character to me, I thought, I think she would have, you know, we want something very distinct. When you look at these people, when you take snapshots of each of these characters from Audrey's life, you want to know who that's her. And so that was something, and I said, I really think people will like, I don't think it'll be too much. No, but I really think, and I just kept fighting, and we let it through just to see, you know, what Network thought, and Network loved it. So I got to keep it.
Just out of interest, the show's obviously based on a Stephen King novel. Has he put any notes down about, or has he actually, do you know if he's ever watched the show yet? Or has he kept himself away from it, distance?
I don't know if he's watched it.
He talks to Emily most days, but not me.
Yeah.
What does he say?
Yeah. He actually called before. No.
He's calling.
He's
actually.
calling now. He actually called your mom.
My mom said
Yeah.
that Stephen really likes the show. We know that Sam and Jim, the creators of the show, got a lovely message from him when they started, you know, with his best wishes and congratulations and support. And that meant a lot to them. They're huge fans of his, and he's let them do with his material what they would, and we're trying to get him in. I think to do a cameo perpetually. Yeah. There's an open invitation. It'll be very cool, but He doesn't really have an ongoing relationship with how the show's progressing.
I don't think he tweets either, so I don't really have a way to get in contact with him.
Is that why you'll get so many intertextual references, all the other sort of bits of his universe that they like to mention, like Shawshank and so forth? Is it because they've got that open, right, that sort of relationship, that thanks from him to play with the world?
I think so, yeah, and just because they're huge fans, and we have a bunch of huge fans in the writers' room. And I think the Easter eggs now are like mostly Nick and Brian's doing, right?
But it's something I think we've tried to, you know, when the show began, and it's a spin-off of the world from Stephen King, and so we have his blessing, and we do realize that we are, you know, that we mention him quite frequently in reference to the show. So you want to do him justice, and you know, we have a large fan base of people that are fans of his work, so it's kind of a fun added bonus for people that really read all of his literature to be able to go through and note everything.
Right, and there's so much stuff in there that is...
When Lucas and the guys were over last October, they said that you had a bit of a tough time on set being surrounded by a bunch of lads who make silly jokes.
I'm in therapy as a result. Yeah. What did you say?
We said...
What did you say?
I do believe you said that she made her first dirty joke that year.
Oh yeah.
That
right.
I what?
That's right. We did. We said that you were basically like the girl surrounded by a bunch of guys that are making like juvenile jokes.
The story of my life.
But that you had really come a long way. In fact, last year, you
I've begun to joke like you, talk as a native
You've
student.
come a long way, like it's sort of degressing to...
The thing is I like to keep a low profile on set.
A low profile.
I'm an observer. There's a lot of things I could say. There's a lot of things I could say and I should say. It is so true. You don't even know.
I don't.
You don't know.
I don't even
No, but I do thoroughly enjoy shock factor as well, but it's in reverse. Like the boys like to, especially Eric likes to shock me with stuff and likes to see how I'm going to react. And I like the reverse shock factor, which is just keeping it low for a really long time and then sending out a zinger to which they get stunned.
long
and you
con.
see them, yes, the very
3 years
long
she
con.
held that thing, like, nailed him. He was like, his head exploded.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. No, but I made a joke, I think, recently about how I just spend my days on set going like this.
Yeah.
I consider myself a refuge for the outsiders that come in and get, berated by the energy. I'm like, if you want to join in, feel free. But if you need a place to call home, come over and hang out. They'll be okay. No, we really have a really good time. So.
Yeah, but it's not very academic kind of place to work.
Not so much. No.
Although we would really support that if we had an academic come to Haven and wanted to, pursue their studies on set, they could. That would be fine. But they would just have to deal with a lot of, fart jokes.
It's funny. I think I was the kind of girl growing up where I hate to say it, but I didn't have a ton of girlfriends anyway. Like I tended to gel more with guys in general. Like it was just less drama, or so I thought. But so I feel I feel at home.
Is there anything you guys want to see for your characters? Something that hasn't happened yet that you would like to have a crack at, get the writers to write it for you, and off you go?
Ooh, here's your
stuff. Just stuff. There are all sorts of things, but that's a really hard question to answer because I've thought myself, like, what would I, okay, I'm going to go sit down with them and talk about what I really want to see and what do I want to see. I have a hard time answering that, but I guess I would like I'd like to see I'd like to explore some more of Nathan's history. Mm-hmm. I think there are all sorts of story possibilities in, his dad, his mom, what happened to his dad, what happened to his mom, his adoption. But I don't know if those are, selfishly, I would love to do that. I don't know if that is what the show is supposed to be necessarily. But I don't really know. I think it's going to be tricky. We have, knowing where we end this season, from my perspective, going into next season with I'm going to need a fresh set of eyes, I think. I think Nathan needs a bit of a reevaluation of things, and I would like to see him have a big personality shift, or I'd like to see a big change in him. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know how long we can,
What are you saying?
Well, I can't say what it is.
I think it's funny that he said that, though, because I feel like when people ask me that question, I tend to usually go to the Nathan camp of things. Like, I feel like he's a huge question mark, which is such a great piece of the Haven puzzle. I think that's a lot of the allure of who Nathan is as a person. But I always have said, I'd like to see his apartment or where he lives, and we get a glimpse. We just recently get a glimpse of that, sort of, but barely 2 seconds of it. And I'd like to I would think it'd be kind of cool to see different points of view from, because we're always sort of attacking A Trouble, but I think the way that maybe Vince and Dave view Haven, or the way that Nathan's day and how he does, I think that would kind of an interesting spin on things. And I also think there's just a layer of mythology that we sort of held up season 1 with Lucy and the Chief, and Nathan as a little boy and Duke as a little boy, and that sort of 1983-esque version of Haven that sort of supported the whole first season. To me, it is very interesting, and I'd love to kind of give that some more weight or delve into that more.
guys, I think we'll have to stop it there if that's okay.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Well, I just wanted to say from a story, like other than specifically character perspective, from a story perspective, I would love to see, I think all of us would like to see, you know, less concern about the trouble of the week in general and more, you know, maybe a new way to approach episodes, whether that's, you know, a day in the life of a certain character or whether that's more time travel, but more exploring that mythology in general, rather, you know, and weaving in maybe the trouble that they're dealing with, but having it focus less on that case.
Cool.
Thank